Alright guys, so next chapter is biodiversity and conservation, right? Okay. See guys, here. So can someone tell me the definition of the word biodiversity? You see the first sentence there. We can simply, to put in small words, we can say the rich variety of living organisms on the earth constitute the biodiversity, correct? So imagine here small numbers were given in the textbook. There are more than 20,000 species of ants, 300,000 species of beetles, 28,000 species of fishes, and nearly 20,000 species of orchids. So it's just talking about few species, correct? We know beetles, we know orchids, but in each species there are how many different varieties are there, guys? 28,000 species of fishes, 20,000 species of the orchids. So just small numbers. Now look at here. Let's find out what exactly is this word, the biodiversity. The immense diversity or the heterogeneity exists not only at the species level, but all levels of biological organization ranging from macromolecules within cells to biomes. You see guys, we know there are so many species, correct? So many species of plants, animals on the earth. The diversity not just exists in the levels of species, but also in the types of micromolecules, macromolecules, cells, and also the biomes, right? Now we can say that the biodiversity was it was popularized by the sociobiologist whose name was Edward Wilson. And diversity exists in three different levels. What are those called as? The genetic diversity, the species diversity, and the ecological diversity. What is meant by the word genetic diversity? A single species might show high diversity at genetic level over its distributional range. To understand this statement, let's take an example here. There is a plant known as the Rauwolfia vomitaria, which shows genetic variation in different Himalayan ranges in potency and concentration of a chemical produced by it. It is called as the, what is the chemical, guys? Reserpine. It's the same plant, right? Distributed in the different areas of the Himalayan mountain ranges. And each species is different in the production of the chemical, in terms of its concentration and in terms of its potency. Same plant, same chemical, but different levels. At the same time, other examples were mentioned here. India has more than 50,000 genetically different strains of rice. We might have seen maybe 5, 10 varieties of rice, but there are how many types of rice? 50,000. And there are 1,000 varieties of mango. So this is what we call as genetic diversity. The second one is species diversity. Diversity at the species level. For example, the Western Ghats has more amphibian or greater amphibian species when compared to the Eastern Ghats. So what does it mean here? We have more species in the Western Ghats when compared to the Eastern Ghats, especially the amphibian species. And third one is the ecological diversity at the ecosystem level. So India, for example, has so many different types of biomes. So we have deserts, rainforests, mangroves, coral reefs, wetlands, estuaries, alpine meadows. And this country has a greater ecosystem when compared to ecosystem diversity when compared to a small Scandinavian country called as Norway. Because Norway is surrounded by ocean. They do not, that country doesn't have many different types of ecological biomes. Am I clear here? Right? So these are three levels of diversity. What are those, guys? One is the genetic diversity, the species diversity, and the ecological diversity. Now look at this here. Now this table mentions what are the number of species on the earth. According to IUCN 2004, what is the full form of IUCN? What is the full form? International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. According to IUCN, the total number of plant and animal species described so far is slightly more than 1.5 million. These are the species which we have discovered, described, named, and classified. We do not know still how many species are there on the earth, which are still waiting to be discovered. For many taxonomic groups, species inventories are more complete in the temperate than the tropical countries. So most of the species discovered so far in the which regions, guys? Temperate regions, but not in the tropical regions. Look here. And some estimate the total number of species on the earth may be somewhere between 20 to 50 million. But a more scientific estimate was given by Robert May, who said that the species diversity may be about 7 million. So this is actual, a scientific estimation. Then, so what are the different kinds of species, you see, guys? More than 70% of species recorded are animals, while plants including fungi, algae, bryophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms comprise no more than 22% of the total. Means if we discovered 100 species, in that 70 species are only animals, 20% are the plants and remaining all other organisms. Let's look at this one. Among the animals, insects make up more than 70% of total. In a sense, out of every 10 animals on this planet, 7 of them are insects. That's why I think you learn in the animal kingdom saying Arthropoda is the largest phylum in the animal kingdom, right? Which one is the second largest phylum? Mollusca. Okay, right. So biologists are not sure how many prokaryotic species there might be, because the conventional methods of identifying species are not suitable for the prokaryotic species, because simply many of them are not easily culturable in the laboratory conditions. So if we have the enough equipment and the methodology to do that, their number might run into millions. The number of prokaryotic species may be, I would say, more than 10 times than the actual species on the earth, right? Then look at India. India has only 2.4% of world's land area, but its share of the global species diversity is an impressive 8.1%. So this chapter is all about the numbers. Very, very important. There will be at least one question from here. What is the land area occupied by India in the world, guys? 2.4%. What is the species diversity? It has 8.1%. India is one of the 12 megadiversity countries of the world, which means nearly 45,000 species of plants and twice as many of animal species have been recorded from India. How many species of plants? 45,000 species, and almost twice, that is almost 90,000 species of animals. But if we estimate the number of species according to Robert May's calculations, we have discovered so far only 22% of the total species. And if we apply those predictions, our India may have more than 100,000 species of plants and almost 300,000 species of animals. That if we use Robert May's predictions. Am I clear about this point? Right? And next you say. So, the next point is the patterns of diversity. How the species are distributed. One is known as, you see, the latitudinal gradients. So, species diversity decreases as we move from equator towards the poles. You know these things, right? Equator, poles, right? What is the equator? The median line along the circumference of the earth, right? That is called as equator. Equator, you will find more species. But as you move towards the poles, what happens? The number of species will decrease, because one is a tropical region, the other one is a temperate region. Let's say, for example, tropics with their location is 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south harbor more species than temperate or polar regions. For example, Colombia is near equator, correct? What is the number of bird species they have? Colombia, 1,400. New York is in temperate region of 105 bird species. Greenland has 56 species of birds. So as you can see, Colombia is near equator. New York is in the temperate region. Again, Greenland is purely in the temperate region. That means number of bird species are decreasing because of the temperature variance. India is in equator, which has 1,200 bird species. A forest in a tropical region like Ecuador has up to 10 times more vascular plants as a forest of an equal size in a temperate Midwest of the USA. the forest size is same. One forest in the tropical region, other one is in the temperate region. But the forest in the tropical region has more species when compared to the temperate regions. Now, scientists estimate that in the Amazon rainforest, there might be at least 2 million insect species still waiting to be discovered and named. How many insect species, guys? 2 million. So far, we have known 1.5 million of all the species. So, insects itself, we have another 2 million only in the Amazon rainforest. We need time for that. Next, you see, here something mentioned. Amazon is largely a tropical rainforest. One second. Okay, tropical rainforest in South America has greatest biodiversity on Earth. As you can see here, that one rainforest has 40,000 species of plants, 3,000 species of fishes, 1,300 of birds, 427 mammals, 427 amphibians, 378 reptiles, and more than 125,000 species of vertebrates. As you can see, Amazon number, the species numbers are almost equals to the number of species in India. You can see, what is the number of plant species we have, guys? 45. Their plants almost 40,000 species. Get my point? The reason is its location in the near the equator. Okay, so we'll come to that point, you see. So these are the reasons why the tropical regions have more diversity when compared to the temperate regions. First one, you see, unlike temperate regions, which are subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, tropical latitudes remained undisturbed. Tropical regions undisturbed. Temperate regions continuously going through a cycles of something called as a glaciation. Temperature continuously dropping. But in the tropical regions, they were undisturbed. They have enough time for the species to, evolve. Speciation has enough time here. More and more species evolved as the temperature was constant. Second reason, the tropical regions are constant, less seasonal, and they promote the niche specialization and lead to a greater species diversity. And third one is, there is more solar energy in the tropical regions, to which contributes to higher productivity and might contribute indirectly to greater diversity. More solar energy means the photosynthesis will be more, right? So if producers number increases, automatically consumers number will also increase. Get my point here? So these are the three reasons that you have to remember, guys. Am I clear there? Right? And next you see, there's something mentioned here, something known as species area relationship. So first one is the latitudinal gradient in the patterns of diversity. Second one is the species area relationship. What is this, guys? Here you see. This was proposed by a scientist. What's the name of the scientist, guys? Alexander von Humboldt. He said species richness within a region increases with increased explored area, but only up to a limit. What does it mean by that? Can someone tell me? So let's say, guys, for example, imagine there is a forest somewhere, and someone has been given a task to find and count the number of species. Now, a group has entered in the first area. They have divided this area into, let's say, 3 parts. In first part, they might have found 100 species of plants and 200 species of animals. In the next, they might have found 150 species of plants and 250 species of animals. In the next, they might have found 250 species of plants and 350 species of animals. That means as the area of the explored forest is increasing, the number of species also increasing, but only up to a limit, because the forest has ended. Can you expect to find more species as the forest has ended? No. That means the species richness is always limited as the explored area increases. So this was given as a graph in your textbook. You can see that. You can see the graph. Can you see that, guys? What is the shape of the graph? Can someone tell me? What is the shape of the graph? It's a hyperbola, correct? It's a hyperbola. What is the equation? What is the equation? Huh? Log S equals to log C plus, right. Log S equals to log C plus Z log A. Now, what does S represent? What does S represent here? Species richness. The A represents the area, and Z is the slope of the line or the regression coefficient, and C is the y-intercept. So when we draw a graph applying the values of the area explored and the number of species, you get this equation. And the Z value gives out the area as well as the number of species. For example, the Z value lies in the range of 0.1 to 0.2 regardless of the region or the taxa. But the slope of the line is much steeper in very large areas like the large continents. I mean, as the area increases, the number of species will also increase. So in normal small regions, the value is always between 0.1 to 0.2. But when the area of exploration increases, like large continents, the value of the Z will also increase. For example, the frugivorous birds and mammals in tropical forest is about 1.15 because there is more area and also more species. Obviously, the Z value will increase. Are we clear here? Right? And next. So what is the importance of species diversity to the ecosystem? Why do we need so many species? So to understand this one more scientist name was mentioned here. Who is that? Can you see the name, guys, here? His name was David Tillman. He said, communities with more species tend to be more stable. More species, the system will be more stable than those with less species. A stable community should not show too much variation in productivity from year to year. If one forest produced 100,000 tons of biomass, in the next year also should have the same amount of biomass. Then there is no change. I mean, that community is stable. Next, it must be resistant to occasional disturbances. It could be natural or the man-made. And it must also be resistant to invasion by alien species. If our ecosystem, satisfies these characteristics, sit straight. Is it a theater? Huh? What is it, guys? It is a stable community. Correct? Next to see. David Tillman performs some experiments to prove the same thing. Now comes here an important point, very important, guys. There's a hypothesis proposed by a scientist who is known as Paul Ehrlich. So we might be understanding, we might be asking ourselves, why do we need so many species, right? The answer is explained here, you see. He proposed a hypothesis which is called the Rivet-Popper hypothesis. See, he said, the entire ecosystem is like an aeroplane, and all the parts of the aeroplane are joined together by small screws. They are called as rivets, right? Here, each rivet represents a species. So, losing small rivets of unnecessary parts, let's say holding the seats or the seat belts, the toilets, losing those rivets doesn't matter. Means small species extinction might not cause it much problem. But if the rivets holding the plane, let's say the wings together, what if those rivets are popped? What happens, guys? The plane will crash. Means which species has become extinct is important, not how many species. For example, if we lost all the hyenas, all the wolves, all the tigers, then what happens? The entire forest ecosystem will collapse. You know my point here, right? That is what we call it as the Rivett-Popper hypothesis. And then next, some extinctions have been mentioned here, the loss of biodiversity. For example, the colonization of tropical rainforests, Pacific Islands by humans led to the extinction of more than 2,000 species of the native birds. 2,000 species, not one or two, guys. And IUCN Red List. IUCN, like I mentioned earlier, maintains a list of species which have gone extinct, which are endangered, okay, which are of least concern. So they maintain a book that is called the Red Data Book, and they have a list, the Red List. And according to 2004, the documentation documents the extinction of 784 species, of which 338 vertebrates, 359 invertebrates, and 87 species of plants in the last 500 years. I mean, within the last 500 years, we lost 784 species. It's like every year 1.5 species have been lost. In the last 20 years alone, witnessed disappearance of the 27 species. And all this is because of the human activities, and there is no denying of that. And in this, amphibians seems to be more vulnerable to the extinction than any other species because of their requirement of water as well as the land. Then 15,500 species worldwide are facing the threat of extinction. And even before the humans, there were extinctions. They were called as the 5 mass extinctions. All of them were caused by nature itself. But the current one, which is called the 6th extinction, is purely due to the human activities, which is 100 to 1,000 times more faster than the previous natural extinctions. That means, if this present trend continues, nearly half of all the species on Earth might be wiped out within the next 100 years. So if we do not act now, if we don't take care of these species, in the next 100 years, half of them will be gone. So in the next 100 years, we'll be studying, we have only 750,000 species. Now we have 1.5 million species, discovered species. Next, these are the reasons, these are the causes of loss of biodiversity, and some of the examples are given here. The recent extinctions. A bird called dodo from Mauritius, quagga from Africa, thylacine on the mammal from Australia, another mammal, Stella ceca from Russia, and 3 subspecies of tiger from Indonesia, that is Bali, Javan, and Caspian. And this is the percentage of species which are facing extinction. That is 12% of birds, 23% of mammals, 32% of amphibians, and 31% of gymnosperms are facing the threat of extinction. Am I clear there? Right? And these are the 4 major causes of biodiversity. What are those, guys? Called as habitat loss and fragmentation. Second one is overexploitation. Third one, alien species invasion, and the last one is a co-extinction. So what do you mean? What are they together called as? They call as the evil quartet. They call as the word is important. It's called as the evil quartet. In this, the most, important cause of biodiversity loss is the first one. What is, guys, here? Habitat loss and fragmentation. Means the loss of land because of, for example, Amazon rainforest has been, is being cut for cultivation of soya beans and to the grasslands for the raising beef cattle. So we are losing it. See, before, the tropical rainforest once used to cover more than 14% of the Earth's land. Now it is only 6%. That means we lost those forests. And second reason is overexploitation, which means, what is overexploitation? We are not taking what we need. We have become greedy. We want more. When the need turns to greed, it is called as overexploitation. For example, the fishing in the seas. And third one is alien species invasion. When a species not native to an area was introduced wantedly or let's say unknowingly, then it is called as the alien species invasion. These examples are very, very important. Let's say the Nile perch introduced in Lake Victoria in East Africa led to the extinction of 200 species of cichlid fish. The plants of some plants alien species are there, like cucurbita, the carrot grass colleazy, Parthenium, lantana and water hyacinth colleazy, Iconia are some of the invasive species. And then we have in India, African catfish called as Clarias gariepinus was introduced in Indian lakes to increase the yield, but it actually became a threat to the local catfishes. And then the last one is co-extinction. Co-extinction means if one species becomes extinct, any other species dependent on that will also go extinct. For example, the co-evolved plant pollinator mutualism is another example. What does it mean by that? If we were to lose the bees are the most important pollinators. All the plants dependent on those insects for pollination will also go extinct. That is called as the co-extinction. Yes, mister? Hello. Are you fine? What's your name? What's your name? Go sit in the back and stop talking. Right? And next one, guys. So this is the table, the pie charts that we have in the beginning. It's showing the percentage of the species of the invertebrates, vertebrates and plants. Please be careful about this diagram. Alright, next. So why should we conserve the biodiversity? The arguments are divided into three types or three categories. One is a narrowly utilitarian, and second one is a broadly utilitarian, and the last one is a ethical argument. What is a narrowly utilitarian? I mean, all the reasons are obvious. They're important. Who is that speaking? Humans derive countless direct economic benefits from nature, such as food, firewood, fiber, construction materials, industrial products, and medicinal products. More than 25% of drugs that are currently used in the market, they come from 25,000 species of plants. And we still don't know how many plants are there with medicinal value still waiting to be discovered. And nations which endure with rich biodiversity can benefit by following a simple process called bioprospecting. What is bioprospecting? Exploring the molecular, genetic and species level diversity for products of economic importance. Like we discussed in the beginning, the diversity exists in genetic level, species level and ecological level. We have to find the molecules, we have to find the genetic diversity, and there might be one plant waiting to be discovered which may have a wonder of chemicals that may help to cure many diseases. So if a nation can do that, it will become more richer, right? And second one is the broad utility, I mean bigger reasons. Amazon rainforest, for example, are called as the lungs of the planet. Reason? They provide 20% of all the oxygen that is ever produced on the earth. We need it. And if we lose them, we lose the 20% of oxygen. Correct? Yes or no, guys? And the last one is ethical argument. It's simple. I can say, as we are the intelligent species, it's our moral duty or the ethical duty to preserve this diversity for the future generations. That is called as the ethical argument. Am I clear there? Right? And the last one, how do we conserve the biodiversity? So when we conserve and protect the whole ecosystem, in essence, saving the entire forest to save the tiger is called in situ conservation. There are two types of conservations, in situ and ex situ. In situ means conserving the species in their natural environment. Ex situ means in a different place, like in the zoological parks, botanical gardens, seed banks, all of them are called as the ex situ conservation. So you don't have to save the tiger in a zoo. You have to save the forest first, and that forest will automatically save the tiger and all the other species present in the same area. That is called as the in situ conservation. For example, you say in situ conservation, we have something called as the biodiversity hotspots. Regions with very high levels of species richness and high degree of endemism. Endemism means species confined to a particular region and not found anywhere else. So, any place with a endemic species and subjected to habitat loss and fragmentation can be known as a biodiversity hotspot. And the total number of biodiversity hotspots initially were 25 and later on 9 more were added, bringing up the number to 34. And 3 of them are found in our country: Western Ghats in Sri Lanka, Burma and Indo-Burma and Himalaya, and the last one is a 3 of this. Okay, yeah, Indo-Burma and Himalaya. And all of these biodiversity, all 34 biodiversity hotspots cover less than 22% of the Earth's land area, but protecting these biodiversity hotspots can decrease the extinction level by almost, how much percent, guys? 30%. All we have to do is protect this 2%. We can decrease extinction by 30%. Then in India, we have 14 biosphere reserves, 90 national parks and 448 wildlife sanctuaries. All of them have a legal protection of these species. There's something called as sacred groves found in Kashi, Jainta Hills of Meghalaya, Aravalli Hills of Rajasthan, Western Ghats, Sarguja, Chandar and Bastar regions of Madhya Pradesh are the last refuges of rare and threatened plants. I mean, these are the places which protect, they keep aside some areas of the forest which has most important species. So they are considered sacred plants or the sacred animals. And those areas are called as the, what's guys? Sacred groves. Am I clear there? Right. What's the next one here we have? Ex situ. Means outside the natural environment, like the zoological parks, the botanical gardens, or the safari parks, all of them come under ex situ conservation. Along with that, and so recently the ex situ conservation has gone beyond the parks. So we have cryopreservation techniques where we can protect and preserve the gametes of the threatened species in viable and fertile conditions. We may have lost a species, but if we had the time, we could have collect the gametes and store them. In the future, we can rejuvenate them. So we have the tissue culture method, which we discussed in the biotechnology. We have seeds of different genetic strains, and the commercially important species of plants can be kept for long periods in the seed banks. So these are the ex situ conservation. 2 types of conservations: in situ and ex situ. What is in situ? Protecting them in the natural environment. Ex situ, outside. And this is important. These 2 sentences, guys. So there was a convention happened, which was known as the Convention on Biological Diversity, known as the Earth Summit, which was held in Rio de Janeiro, 1992, for biodiversity conservation and sustainable utilization of its benefits. Very important. Second one, the follow-up summit, called as the World Summit on Sustainable Development, held in 2002 in, where's guys? Johannesburg in South Africa, pledged for significant reduction in the current rate of biodiversity loss at global, regional and local levels by 2010. So these 2 points are more important in the entire chapter, along with other numbers. One is the convention called as the World Summit, and second one is called as the Earth Summit. Are we clear here? So that's the chapter biodiversity and conservation. This chapter is all about the numbers, guys. So there are so many numbers have been mentioned. You have to memorize them, and it's one of the important chapters in second PU with at least 1 question in the exam. Am I clear there? Any doubts? Right. Open the textbook, the module.